original and unique contribution of Longinus to the field of aesthetics is the sublime. The sublime. And what do you understand by sublime? Can anyone say what is sublime? People are responding in the chat box. You can either respond in the chat box or unmute and speak for yourself. It's a divine quality. Vasudev says it is a divine quality. Shamira says transcendental.
When we studied it in painting, it's something like a terror, like very strong emotions, or like vast expanse of nature.
Okay. Yeah, last year even I myself referred to the concept of sublime. If you remember, when I was teaching 19th century Western art, Romanticism, I discussed this theme, I guess. Did I?
Yes, we did.
Okay. What we discussed in our class last year was the romantic sublime, means the understanding of the sublime during the romantic period. That concept has developed far from the time of Longinus himself. So I will just tell you. Usually we understand something as beautiful, ugly, good or bad. That is the general understanding. There are certain things that do not come in the particular definition of beautiful or ugly, good or bad. In that kind of discussions, it cannot be included. I can bring forward a few examples. Do you know Buddha? I should not ask you. Do you know Buddha? You know who is Buddha. But what is his previous life? In his early life, what was his name in the early life? His name was Siddhartha. And we all know he was born in a royal family. And what was his problem? He was born in a royal family, very rich family. He was a prince. Being in a royal family, he would have everything that is required for somebody who needs to be content and happy in life. Isn't it? When we look at our personal experience, when we have everything around us, when we have everything that makes us happy around us, usually such things would be, for me, a mobile would be very interesting, a car would be very important thing for me, or anything that is necessary for us for our daily life, food and other facilities that are required for us, good internet connection. If everything is there, we are happy. Enough money is there, we are happy. And in his own times, he would be given everything. He would have been provided everything, that he may not want anything more further. You understand? He was given everything, and the parents, Siddhartha's parents, found him still unhappy. Right? And what they thought, getting him married would make him more happy. He was found unhappy, and the girl was given in marriage to him, and they thought he would be happy. Was he happy? So everything is there. He got married to a beautiful woman. He had every riches. At his command, everything was there. But was he happy actually? Was he happy?
No, he wasn't.
What is the reason for he not being happy? Everything that gives him pleasure in the worldly life was provided to him. When we compare to our own lives, it is true that when everything pleasurable is there and around us, we are normally happy. Was he not normal or what? Yeah, he was quite abnormal, a little abnormal. When we look at from our perspective, what was his problem? So every good things were provided to him, but that did not make him happy. He gave up everything and lived a life of a mendicant, and also he was searching for something more than, he was searching for a higher kind of pleasure which these things could not give him. A wife could not give him that pleasure, any riches could not give him that pleasure, any food could not give him that pleasure. So he was looking for a greater pleasure. So giving up everything in the world in order to attain something that is higher. You understand? That suggests to what sublime is. So things are beautiful. Everything beautiful, everything good is given to him. But he is not satisfied with any of them. But he tries to achieve something higher. What is beyond everything beautiful? What is beyond everything that is good? You understand? There are certain elements which we cannot comprehend with the term beautiful or good. So there is something that goes beyond of a higher quality than considering us good or beautiful. That is what this man points to. Longinus points to. Okay, one more story I can tell you. Better I shall share the script. Can someone say that story? I will share a text. Somebody may please come forward and read. Who will do it? It's a small passage. Someone please volunteer.
Okay, Father.
Who? Noila?
The book of Job is quite possibly the strangest book in the Hebrew Bible and is notoriously difficult to date. In this Bible story from the book of Job, there is a wealthy man named Job residing in an area called Uz with his extended family and vast flocks. He is blameless and upright, constantly mindful to live in a righteous manner. God brags to Satan about Job's virtue, but Satan contends that Job is only righteous because God has favored him generously. Satan dares God that, if given the approval to inflict suffering, Job will change and curse God. God permits Satan to abuse Job, to experiment with this brazen claim, but he forbids Satan to take Job's life in the manner. Over the time of one day, Job is given 4 reports, each informing him that his sheep, servants, and 10 children have all died due to thieving intruders or natural disasters. Job rips his clothes and shaves his head in sorrow, yet he still praises God in his prayers. Satan arrives in heaven again, and God allows him another opportunity to test Job. This time, Job is distressed with terrible skin sores. His wife urges him to denounce God and to give up and die. But Job protests, trying to endure his inflictions.
This is actually a summary of the book of Job. Summary of the book of Job that comes in the Old Testament Bible. And what you see in the book is Job, he was a very rich and wealthy, he was a very wealthy man, given everything around him. And as it was read there, there were instances when he loses everything. So one of the servants come back and says, all your sheep is lost. Some robbers came and robbed all of them. And the servants were killed. I am the one who is left in order to give this report to you. Then what the response of Job is, it was all given by God. It is all taken back by God. Let his name be glorified. Let his name be blessed. All his children were lost, means in an accident. Everyone were lost. All his children and family was lost. And one of the servants come back and says, all of them are lost. Only I am left in order to give this report to you. Then he says, the children were given by God and they are called back by God. So let his name be blessed. You understand? It is beyond human conception. Generally, when we lose something, we are very upset. Okay, when we lose something, we are very upset and not happy. We will be blaming God. And he finally falls sick. And he has a lot of sores on his body. Even his wife rejects him and asks him to curse God and get away. Curse God and die. That will be better than living a life like this. But he says, it's a will of God. I accept it. I thank God. I glorify God. So that was his only response. He endured all these sufferings. You understand? So actually this is a book which tries to examine the problem of evil. If God is almighty, if God is all good, why there is evil in the world? And the book answers that it is beyond human comprehension. The plan of God, the will of God is beyond our comprehension. God has his own ways of doing things. And his 3 friends come for a counsel to him. And they say that you must have committed some crime. You must have committed some sin against God. That's why you are put in front of God's justice. Okay, you are put to justice by God because you have committed some crimes, committed sins that are not worthy to God. You understand? But he says, no, he know how righteous he was. And he was so confident, he was so prayerful, he was so thankful to God even for the sufferings that was given to him, sufferings that were given to him. So can you just imagine, we can thank somebody for some good things. When you are given a gift, you will be thanking them, right? When you are given a pen, you will be thanking. When you are, but if you are beaten up, will you thank him back? If you are inflicted some pain, you will be blaming, gali dega. You understand? You will be blaming them or telling bad words about them. Somebody who gives you pain, somebody who makes you sorrow, you will be upset with them. You will not be happy with them. You understand? That is very natural. That is very human. But a thought beyond the human kind of thought. I don't say it is not human because these are all human thoughts only. But generally we don't think in that manner. So some thought is higher than what every others would think. A thought that is of a higher order. A thought that is of a higher order. When you are beaten up, you give thanks. When you are blamed or when you are blamed without any reason, when you are mocked by everyone else, you are thanking God and thanking others for doing that very thing that inflicts pain on you. That's not a natural thought. That it is not generally it is not the way that human beings respond. We will be reacting in a different way. So it is beyond general understanding of people. It is beyond general understanding of human nature. Is that clear to you? So that kind of thought he considers as the sublime. And I will conclude the story. In the end, it goes like this. God gives everything back to him, bless him with everything that was his, means he was given children again, he was given family again, wealth again, and he lived happily ever after. That's how the story ends. But it discusses a problem, discusses the philosophical and theological problem of evil at a very early period. So for Longinus, the sublime is an adjective that describes great or elevated or lofty thought or language. So it's a lofty thought or language. That's why I was saying this example. It is beyond normal human comprehension. It is not very natural to human being to respond in that way. So it's a thought of higher order, a feeling of higher order. So he is saying it's about elevated language or thought. So he defines sublime as an adjective that describes great, elevated or lofty thought or language. So it can be thought or language which is elevated, lofty or great. And as such, sublime inspires awe and veneration. So when we speak about Buddha or when we listen to the story of Job, so their attitude is something venerable, something that invokes awe. We cannot think in that manner. That is something new to us. We have never thought in such manner. How can you thank you somebody who is inflicting pain on you? How can you thank you somebody who steals away your things? You know the story of Bishop's candlesticks. Les Miserables? You know that story, I guess. The thief takes the candlesticks of the bishop and runs away. It's by Victor Hugo. He runs away with the candle and the police catch him and bring him back to the bishop. And the bishop says, the police ask him, he has stolen your candlesticks. We have brought him back. Then the bishop says, I have given it to him. And why, brother? I had given you one more thing. You did not take that. Why didn't you take that? So that kind of thought is an elevated thought. It's a lofty thought. You understand? So that is what Longinus considers as sublime.